Thanks, guys. So how about before I start talking to you guys, how about we talk to our lady, our mom, right? Mama Mary. So how about you guys join me in praying a Hail Mary really quickly. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. All right, great. So like Josh said, my name's André Escaleira, and I'm a who? Now, what does that mean? I'm not this weird creature that talks to Horton, right? I'm not this weird creature that shouts out for Horton to hear me. So what does that mean when I say I'm a who? What does it mean when I say that I'm a who? It means that I'm a person, right? I'm a human being. At least I think so, right? I mean, yeah, of course I am, right? Here I am. I'm a human person, right? So what does that mean that I'm a human person? What does that mean? It means that I can run, I can jump, I can sing, even though I won't do that because I'm sick. So, what does that mean, though? Because a lot of things can run and jump and sing and smile, right? Not just me. A lot of creatures can do that. Well, so I'm not a cardboard cutout. I'm not a fancy thing. I'm not an animal. I can do all kinds of great things like this, but what does it mean to be a human person? Okay, so I can eat pizza, right? Who likes pizza? I love pizza. Pizza's awesome. I just had my wisdom teeth out a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't eat pizza, and it was miserable, right? So when I could finally eat pizza, I was so excited. I was like, yes, pizza. Okay, I probably shouldn't have done it 1 week after I got my wisdom teeth out, but anyway, pizza's awesome. So a lot of things can eat pizza, though, right? If you drop your pizza, your dog can eat pizza. So obviously eating is a part of being a human. So what does it mean to be a human being? What does it mean to be a human person? It means that I and all of us, every single one of us, can do a lot better things than just jump and smile and sing and eat, right? It means that we're not just instinctual creatures making choices and performing actions off of a whim, right? It means that we can think, we can decide, and we can act upon each of those decisions. It means that we can communicate our desires, our wishes, our wants, our preferences, our ideas, right? It means we can do all these sorts of things. It means that we can think, we can talk, right? Only human beings can do these things. We can make plans to accomplish the things that we want to do. And so as a human person, I have a certain dignity, right? I have this dignity, and we all do. And now, why is that? Where does that dignity come from? Sorry. It comes from the simple fact that we were created by God Himself, right? I like pizza. Sorry, I didn't make this slide. So it comes from the fact that we were created by God Himself. It comes from the fact that our Creator loved us enough to will us into being. It comes from the fact that we have a Creator. So the book of Genesis, on the 6th day, it tells us that after creating everything that is, God chose to create human beings, and He said, let us create man in our own image according to our own likeness. A few lines later, God examines His creation, and the Bible says that He finds it very good. He finds it to be very good. He doesn't just say good, right? So on days 1 through day 5, God says He looks out over all creation, at the sea, at the sky, at the earth, and He finds it to be good, right? He creates animals, and He finds them to be good. But when He creates human beings, Genesis says that we are very good. As human beings, we are very good. We have a certain dignity that comes from this fact that we have a Creator. It comes from our Creator. This dignity was given to us by God Himself. And so since I'm a who, I have that dignity. And that means that I shouldn't be treated like a what. And even if it were okay to be treated as a what, I wouldn't want to be treated that way, would I? I wouldn't want to be mistreated or wronged, right? Would I? Of course not. I wouldn't want to be neglected. I wouldn't want to be ridiculed. We use things, we don't use people. Right? We use things, we don't use people. And that's an important distinction. That's an important distinction. We're not cardboard cutouts to be carried around. And so that's interesting, right? We're whos. We're whos. We are not whats. And so we're able to think, we're able to feel, we're able to speak. We have desires, we have ideas, we have preferences, we have goals that we can talk about. We can share. And not only do we have them, we talk about them, we communicate them, we want to share them. We want to share our experiences, right? And so a couple weeks ago, I graduated college. Thank you, yeah. And so I got my diploma in the mail. And I got that piece of paper, and I was so excited that I ran upstairs. I grabbed that piece of paper and I ran upstairs to find the first person that I could see and open that package in front of them, because I was so excited after finishing my last round of finals, after passing my last round of finals, after finishing school. I was so excited that I just wanted to find the first person that I could to share that news with them. In another instance, I realized I was on a mission trip, and a friend of mine called me, and I missed the call, and I got super nervous because, like, who calls anyone anymore, right? So when I saw that I missed this call, I got super scared. I got super nervous, and so I called this friend of mine back, thinking that something wrong had happened, something bad had happened. And instead, she shared with me that her boyfriend of like a gajillion years had proposed to her. And she was so excited that she wanted to share the news. She called me and called a bunch of her friends and family to share that news because she was so excited about this moment that had happened in her life. And I had the great blessing of being at their wedding and serving their wedding this past summer. On the flip side, I remember being on a mission trip and finding that a friend on that mission trip had a mother that was seriously ill and was probably not going to make it through the night. And the first thing that I did was call up another friend to ask for prayer. And while that might not have been out of excitement, I still had a need to share that experience. I still had a need to process it through communication, right? To bring another person, to share my experience with another person. And so this shows us that we need other people, right? We are not islands. We can't do it alone. We need other people in our lives, and we need to have real, meaningful connections, real, meaningful relationships with other people. So take social media, for example. We use all sorts of media to connect to other people and to form relationships, right? And that's awesome, right? So I can call up my grandmother who lives in Brazil and talk to her. I can't tell you how much it meant to me when I found out that my uncle had Skype. And so I could call my grandmother on Skype through my uncle and see her and talk to her. I can't tell you how much it meant to me after studying Portuguese for so long to be able to pull out my smartphone, open an app, and talk to my grandmother in Portuguese by myself without a translator for the first time in 10 years. I can't tell you how much it meant to me when I was studying abroad to be able to FaceTime my mom and to show her the view from my apartment. We're not islands. That's my grandma when she came and visited me. And that was my view. So my view was pretty awesome. So it was pretty cool being able to share with my mom, share this view with my mom, and to open my experience to her and bring her into an experience. I was studying in Florence. So we're talking about 10 hours by plane, right? Something like that. And I was able to just pull out my smartphone and bring my mother in on this experience. It meant a lot. But the very fact that we use this social media, the very fact that we seek out other people when we're not in their physical presence, shows us that we desire relationship, that we were made for relationship. Think about it. We seek out other people even when they're not in front of us. And that's a powerful thing. We want to see what's going on in their lives. We want to relate to them. We want to like the fact that they just got a promotion or comment our condolences when they lose a loved one. And when things like distance keep us apart, right? Just the fact that we do this shows a deep desire in our hearts, a desire for relationship, a desire for a connection between people. But understand this, you guys. in its core, social media removes us from the intimacy of relationship. It removes us from this connection that we have with other people. It takes us from an interpersonal relationship. It takes us from seeing someone's face and puts us behind a screen, staring at a reflection of ourselves. So we know that social media is a good thing. We know that technology is a good thing, and it can be very useful and very powerful. But if we stay there, guys, if we stay on the level of social media or technological connections, it's not enough. That does not satisfy the deepest desire of our heart. We can connect to people all over the world through social media. It makes it easy to do that. It makes it easy to connect with people all over the world. But it's not enough. So think about your own friends and followers. Think about your own people that you follow on your accounts. And let's say you follow back, because if you don't, like, come on, right? Team follow back. So let's say that you follow someone you don't know, and you see a post that comes up. Do you really know that person? Do you really know what's going on in their lives? Do you really know what their dreams, what their hopes, what their desires, what their preferences, what their ideas are? Even if they're tweeting or posting on Instagram about their love for pizza, even if they're posting about their love of pizza, okay, I don't know where my pizza slide went, but that's okay. Even if they're posting about pizza, I love pizza. You don't know them, right? You don't know what their desires, what their dreams, what their hopes are. You don't know how their parents are doing. You might not even know who they really are. Because the fact is, we can edit who we are on social media. We'll never know the deep desires of the person in themselves, will we? Think of it in another way, you guys. Think of it in Manhattan. How many of you guys have been to Manhattan before? Of course, because what is there to do in Fairfield County, Connecticut? Go to New York. So, think about in Manhattan, when you're on the streets of Times Square, let's say, and you see all these people. How many of us have had a meaningful conversation with someone in New York on the streets of Manhattan? How many of us can tell someone anything about the people that we see in New York? How many of us can tell what their names are, what their hopes are, what their dreams are? How many of us can tell who those people are? How many of us even remember anyone from Manhattan other than those weirdos? Because let's face it, Manhattan can be a very weird place, right? But the point is, these connections happen all the time. I've connected with people on campus, right? I say, hi, how are you? I connected with a lot of you in the cafeteria back here. And I probably will after I'm done blabbing up here. But the point is, we make many connections every single day. But this doesn't satisfy. This isn't enough. By itself, these things don't satisfy. So whether it's in Manhattan or whether it's on Instagram or on Twitter, we can have these blocks, these walls that prevent us from sharing, from being who we are. We can edit who we are, right? On social media, I'm only going to post the best of the best, right? I'm not going to post a picture of myself in the middle of a sneeze on Instagram. I'm not going to go on Facebook and post a picture of myself after my wisdom teeth surgery, looking like Alvin the Chipmunk's fourth chipmunk cousin boy band member or whatever. No, right? I mean, unless it's going on my Finsta, but even still, I wouldn't do that. I'm going to edit who I am. Only the best of the best will go on the social media, right? I can edit things like a pimple, like my hair color, or something more serious like my proclaimed beliefs or my bio on my profile, right? Who I am. Social media can only give us a connection because we can edit who we are. I can have someone log into my Snapchat and make it look like I'm in by posting things to my story, right? I can have someone change my profile, edit it, make it look cool, like I'm in, like I'm cool, like I'm hip, which I'm not, by the way. I get to portray something that's sort of true. I get to portray something that's a piece of me. I get to live in a fantasy world if I choose to. A technological connection is not enough, guys. It's not a bad thing necessarily. It can be very good, but it is not enough. This kind of superficial connection, whether technological or personal, cannot satisfy that deepest yearning in our hearts. While we can connect to people all over the world through these means, we cannot come to know them through technology. I can't come to know you through technology, through following you on Snapchat. I cannot come to know you and love you for who you are by following you on Facebook. Because we can edit who we are. We're not connecting person to person. I can form a superficial friendship, but I cannot know you. I can know about you, but not know you. Pope Francis said it well on the 48th World Communications Day. He said, "It is not enough to be passerby on the digital highways, simply connected. Connections need to grow into true encounters. We cannot live apart, closed in on ourselves. The digital world can be an environment rich in humanity, a network not of wires, but of people. A network not of wires, but of people." So you guys, in order to truly experience the joy of this deeper connection, we need to get out there. And we need to meet people where they are, wherever they may be. We need not to superficially connect with them by whatever means, but we need to come to know them for who they truly are in themselves. We were made for these sorts of relationships. We were made for these relationships where we come to know the other person in a deep and complete sense, in which we are known in the same way. We want to know these other people, we want to love them, and we want to be loved. We want to encounter them. Now, I just used a different word, right? Encounter. We've been talking about connection. We've been talking about connecting through social media. We've been talking about seeing people in Manhattan. But I used a different word, encounter. But that was wisdom teeth, connection, yeah. Pope Francis, encounter. We want to encounter them. Now that word might sound simple, but it's very important that we understand what this word means. Encounter is not the same thing as a superficial connection. They're different. And we need to notice that difference because I can connect with a lot of people on a superficial level on a daily basis, right? I meet a lot of you, I meet a lot of people on campus, at the Catholic Center, at the mall, all over the place. But encounter is different. It's deeper. And it's been the topic of a lot of Pope Francis's homilies and different talks and addresses in his papacy. And the word encounter in Spanish has a deep meaning, has a deeper, richer spiritual sense that we don't have in English. And in a sense, encuentro means coming to know the other person for who they are in themselves. It means not knowing them by some outer appearance, by some mask that they put on, but it means coming to know their heart. It means coming to know them for who they are in themselves. And then it also means coming to be known in that same way. And so we see that encounter implies knowledge, right? We have to know the other person. We have to come to know them for who they are in themselves. So it's active, right? We have to work at that. We have to do things to come to have that knowledge. But in addition, encounter has another aspect, right? Being known. It's not just knowing the other person, but it's being known in the same way. It involves experiencing the person in his or her uniqueness, right? It involves coming to know them for who they are. Encounter involves a dynamic back and forth. It involves me coming to know you and you coming to know me for who I am and for who you are. It involves a communion and a difference. So the two people come to know each other and come to be known. It's a back and forth. This encounter, this deeper connection can be influenced by all kinds of things, right? We talked about social media, we talked about editing ourselves, but we have to acknowledge the fact that we also can influence this encounter. We also can block this encounter. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemies, right? And many times my own ideas and feelings and desires and preferences and all these things can get in the way, right? Sometimes I can stop myself from encountering the other, instead just connecting with them. Delve deeply into that true, deep, meaningful, real connection, that encounter. Don't let these ideas, these walls that we build, keep us from encountering the other person. When I do these things, I'm alone. I build up walls with my ideas, with my desires, with my preferences, and I keep other people out. When I do that, I am alone. Even when I'm in the midst of other people, if I keep them out behind my walls, I'm alone. I'm just alone with other people. And that sounds silly, right? Being alone with other people. And here we need to make another distinction. We need to realize a difference between physical aloneness and a deeper sort, which is more like loneliness. And so if I'm in my room by myself, with my door shut and I'm reading a book, I'm physically alone, right? No one else is around me. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm lonely. Loneliness is different, it's deeper. Loneliness is more of a feeling. Loneliness is feeling unwanted or unloved or misunderstood. And that's deeper. That can happen whether we're in the presence of other people, whether we're alone, or whether we're connected via social media. It's a deeper sort of aloneness, which is loneliness. And so 2 summers ago, I went on a mission trip to Peru for the first time. And you guys would see pictures if the slideshow were working, but that's okay. Maybe it will? Okay, here we go. Hey, I fixed it. Building walls, 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 walls. Mission trip. So, okay, all right, yeah, seminarian, thank you. So, 2 summers ago, I went on a mission trip to Peru, and it was my first time, and I felt really called to go. I honestly felt very called to go, not only to practice my Spanish, or to lend a helping hand, or to do all kinds of great things, but I truly felt called to go to make those real, meaningful connections with other people, those encounters with other people through common experience, to connect and make friendships with other people who would then call me to holiness and greater virtue. That's what I was looking for when I went to Peru. And so I got on a plane and went to Peru with a bunch of people that I had never met. I went to Peru and went into the mountains, into a village, and stayed with people that I didn't know. I served and I did things with people that I had never met. And so I realized, though, as a community, we weren't really clicking for some reason. We weren't really connecting. And then all of a sudden one night, completely out of the blue, I got sick. And when I say sick, I mean really sick. Now, I'll spare you guys all the details because they're pretty gross. But let's just say it was a stomach issue. And we had a couple close calls. But so, here I am one night, out in the mountains, in the freezing cold of Peru, because it was winter there. I'm outside being sick, outside of our church hall, which was our bedroom, our dining room, our living room for that week. Here I am being sick. And all of a sudden, in between different check-ins from my different group leaders, God hit me with a realization that my sickness was a metaphor. Hear me out. I had all this stuff inside me, some good, some bad, and I had to literally open up and let it all out. And so in the same way, I had to open up. I had to break down those walls. I had to open up and let other people in to share the good moments and the bad. To share my pain and my sorrow and those hard moments, my wounds, but also my joys, my blessings, all those great things too. And I had to laugh at the realization, at this ironic metaphor here that God was hitting me with. And I even looked up at the sky and said, okay, I get it. Can I not be sick anymore? And so my third group leader came out to check on me. And he said something to me that I'll never forget. Right? So I told him about this metaphor, about this realization that God had just hit me with. And first he listened to me with a level of compassion and kindness that I had only experienced a few times in my life. And then he looked at me right in the eyes and he said, in order to be loved, you need to be vulnerable. In order to be loved, you need to be vulnerable. And so that meant that I had to break down those walls. That meant that in order to encounter the other person, I had to let myself be encountered. I couldn't stand an arm's length away behind walls and expect that other people were going to just come to me. That meant that I had to open up and be vulnerable in order to be encountered. So these walls had to start coming down. All of these things had to start coming down, and I had to open up in order to encounter the other person and to be encountered myself. Without trying, without opening up, we cannot be loved in ourselves and for ourselves. But this is exactly what happens sometimes, right? Sometimes we want to be safe around our castles, right? Behind walls, hidden. We want to be hidden behind these castles, behind walls. Remember that I went to Peru that first time to make connections. I went to Peru that first time to make those real deep relationships. But it wasn't working out. And I didn't know why until God conked me over the head. I didn't know why until God hit me with that realization. Because those two things don't work together, you guys. The wall and the encounter do not work together. We were made for authentic relationship. Let's go back to Genesis, to the creation story I mentioned earlier. So does anyone know who was created first? Who was created first? Adam. Exactly. And so God created Adam. God created Adam, right? And he knew the heart of Adam, right? Because they had a deep encounter. They had a deep relationship. And God knew the heart of Adam. And he said, let us find a suitable partner for the man. And so he created the birds of the sky, the fish of the sea, the beasts of the land, and he presented them to Adam. And Adam named them all. But again, God knew his heart. God knew his heart. And so he knew that the animals were not enough. And so God said, let us create a suitable partner for the man. And so he created Eve from his rib. And so in Eve, Adam had someone to love. Adam had someone to cherish and to encounter. And in the same way, he had someone to cherish him, to encounter him, and to love him. And Eve received the same in Adam. She received someone to love, to encounter, to cherish, and to cherish her, to love her, and to encounter her. Because God knew their hearts through this encounter. And so we see here, right in the creation story, that we were created for community. We were created for relationship. We were created for encounter. But if that doesn't prove it to you, let's go back a little earlier in the story. We talked about it before, but God created us in his image and likeness, right? Image and likeness. So the scriptures say that God, when he created us, said, let us create man in our own image, according to our own likeness. Now, let's think about that for a second. Why would he use the pronouns we and our? God is one, right? We believe in one God. So why would God say we and our, which are plural? Because God is a community of persons. He's a trinity of persons, right? Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, right? He's a community of persons. And so if we are created in his image and likeness, that means we also were made for that community. That means that we also were made for relationships. In our deepest being, we were made for relationship. We were made for encounter. It's the deepest desire of the heart to be loved, to be known. This desire of the heart is central in a true encounter with another person, and most importantly, with God. So guys, relationship goes so much deeper than connection. It boils down to encounter. Merely being connected is not enough, but these connections need to become more of a communion, a deep interpersonal unity that is far more fulfilling than the connections that we are normally offered in our day-to-day lives. Now, wait a minute. We've heard this word communion before, right? Coincidentally, it's a popular name for the Eucharist. Now, why would the Eucharist, the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ, be called communion? Well, for no other reason than in that sacrament, Jesus gives his entire self to us. He's there. So Jesus doesn't come to us through Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook, right? He doesn't come to us and ask us about the weather or tell us how much we've grown, like Aunt Nancy or Uncle Jim Bob. Like, yes, that's what happens when you eat food and don't see each other. Yes, right? Jesus offers us more than just that. Jesus comes to us in himself. And he's our example. He's our guide. And so that means that we are meant to do that as well. It means that we are meant for encounter. It means that we are meant to connect with the other person deeply, interpersonally. We are called to encounter. We are called to live communion by being vulnerable, by loving and being loved. We are called to share in our identity, not what we do, but who we are. We are called to rejoice in the other person for who he or she is in the deepest sense, and to live out mercy. When I think of this, I think of a friend of mine that I met that first time in Peru. Not only did he live that communion by encountering the villagers that we served, but also by encountering each of us in a deep sense. Not only did he encounter and serve those people, but he opened his heart to us. He was vulnerable. He shared from who he is, that deepest sense. He opened his heart and shared with us his wounds, which were deep, and all of his joys and blessings, which were profound. He opened his entire self to us in order to encounter us and so that he may be encountered. He allowed us and the people in the village to encounter him, and he encountered them in that same way. And to this day, we are still very close friends, and we talk to each other, and we still call each other to that virtue and that holiness even now. Because that's what we're created for, guys. This sort of relationship, this sort of vulnerability is not easy. It takes work. It's uncomfortable. Remember what my leader told me on that mission trip. To be loved, you have to be vulnerable. It's going to take work. It's going to be difficult. I definitely didn't want to open myself and share myself with my mediocre Spanish and my fluorescent skin, right? I wanted to hide. I wanted to be behind my walls, right? It's uncomfortable to open up, right? And to risk rejection, to risk ridicule. It's uncomfortable to do that. But guys, in the words of Pope Benedict, we were not made for comfort. We were made for greatness. And in order to be great, guys, we have to be vulnerable. In order to love, and in order to be loved, We have to be vulnerable. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary for true and lasting communion. We have to open ourselves up to that true communion, not to a superficial Facebook kind of connection. We have to embrace who we are with our imperfections. We have to let go and we have to relinquish control. We have to let down the walls and let God in. We have to let down the walls and let God in. This is not comfortable, and I know it, you guys. It's not easy, definitely not. But in the end, it's completely and totally essential for true and lasting communion. And that communion, you guys, it's real, it's lasting, and it's what we were made for, it's what we long for so deeply. Remember Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden? That encounter first with God, then with community, for which we were created, that deep, lasting connection, that's what we're made for. It's more than a Snapchat or an Instagram relationship. It's more than a hi, how are you on the streets of Manhattan. It's deeper than that. This real encounter means that each person is known for who he or she truly is, in him or herself. That, you guys, is what we're made for. That is the innermost desire of our very hearts. We were made for community. We were made for encounter. We desire it like nothing else, you guys. And here's a secret. It's possible too. So let's not let our walls that we build get in the way.